so now it is time to talk about RAM, or random access memory, or as I like to think about it, short-term working memory, stuff you gotta do tasks with. There are four types, or four things you gotta look out for with RAM. You gotta look out for the mem size, you gotta look out for the speed, you gotta look out for the generation or the DDR, and you gotta look out for the type. So let us look at a common way of speccing out or saying RAM. Let's say we are gonna buy 8 GB DDR4. That's a B. I meant to do a D. DDR4 2400 MHZ Corsair SODIMM. All right, this is like a listing you will see for RAM. Okay, something like that. 8 gigabytes, DDR4, 2400 megahertz Corsair SODIMM. All right, now let's decipher what that actually means. The memory size is this right here, is your gigabytes. It is measured in gigabytes, which is a measurement of data size or data storage, data rates. 8 gigabytes is your size. The more of that size you have available to you, the more RAM you have. So usually if you have a RAM shortage or something on your computer, you want more RAM, more stuff. The next thing that you see here is DDR4, which is actually describing the generation of RAM. Okay, so the older generations are generations like a DDR2 or DDR3. Obviously, if you have a modern CPU, you can't get away with doing an older generation of RAM. It just won't work. Luckily, I didn't have to explain this in the motherboard video or anything, because when you're speccing out your RAM, you just want to make sure that your RAM is either your RAM's DDR type or your generation is in line with the socket type or with the CPU that you're actually using, which will also tie into the generation of motherboard that you're using. And all those three things kind of tie together. Again, the manufacturers of these places have some wicked smart people. And the manufacturer of these things have wicked smart people. They make it kind of easy. Things tend to converge. So you're not going to get, for example, a motherboard that accepts a modern CPU but wants old RAM. They're always going to be in lockstep what kind of generation they want. So if you're using like an older type CPU, it'll go to an older type motherboard and you will see like an older type DDR generation. Again, current generation is DDR4. Just don't buy like DDR3 and try to cram it into your DDR4 machine. And then this is your speed. Now, gamers and enthusiasts say that speed matters, but they are actually lying, not just to you, but they're lying to themselves, because speed, even when you do overclock it and go to your BIOS and do everything you possibly can, and you have the right Ryzen CPU and you do all the cooling or whatever for your RAM, there are very few applications at all that benefit from faster RAM speeds, in practice at least. However, when I say very few, I really mean very, very few. Virtually all applications are not bottlenecked at your RAM speed. And the standard speed for RAM, the spec speed at RAM, which is enabled by default, is set this by default, is 2400 megahertz or 2.4 gigahertz, which is the refresh speed of your RAM, how fast you can get stuff out of RAM. So you can pretty much safely ignore speed, right? You're not gonna mess with that. Now the last thing is type, laptop or desktop. Either it's gonna be SODIMM or DIMM, all right? So DIMM means desktop, D-I-M-M, and SODIMM means laptop. So if you are buying laptop RAM, you gotta watch out if you're trying to stick it into a desktop. So when you see SODIMM or DIMM, that means, you know, laptop or desktop. So let's go over it again. Oh yeah, and the last one was Corsair. Corsair is a manufacturer. I guess there's Vengeance or whatever. I can't remember all the manufacturers, but hey, RAM is RAM. A particular manufacturer or brand is not going to be really like leagues different than any other manufacturer or brand, as long as these resources and specs are the same. So let's go over it again. This is your size of a stick of RAM. This is usually referring to one stick, right? One stick. You could change this listing a bit. You will see, for example, if it says 8 GB RAM, they might say this is 2x or 2x 4 GB. Now, if you see something like that plugged into the listing, 2x 4GB, what they mean is there's actually 2 sticks of 4GB each. So the listing is for 8 gigabytes of RAM, but there's 2 sticks. 2x 4GB equals 8. Or if you don't see this at all, what it means is that's just 1 stick of 8GB, right? If you don't see 2x of something or other, or 3x or whatever, that's just referring to 1 stick. So that's what a listing will look like, and that's kind of how to plug it into your system and what matters there. All right, see you next time for, I think the next one's going to be hard drives. All right.